Hi everyone, it's Bob Perkins with AA-ISP's Inside Sales Studio. I'm here today with Joe Caprio. Joe, how you doing today?
Hey Bob, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Joe's the VP of Sales at Chorus, Chorus.ai. They're a great partner of the AA-ISP. They're doing wonderful things there. But today we're going to have a short interview about a topic that is critical to the future of inside sales. And it has to do with really developing our sales reps, our SDRs, our AEs, developing them from a lot of times hires that come in with less than optimal experience, sometimes right out of college, Joe, right? We've talked about this. And how do you move them forward? What are the tools you use? What are some of the best practices in doing that? And as we talked earlier, I think we have an epidemic really in the lack of our developing these people into fine sales reps. We don't have time, we don't have resources. So I'm glad you're going to share some insight into this problem. Let's start with a kind of a high level question here. And why are a lot of people, a lot of leaders and sales ops, they're starting to look at recording, the use of recorded calls in this development process? What are you seeing?
Yeah, Bob. Listen, this is a white hot space. This is a crazy hot space right now. I can't tell you the logos that are like in our lead queue, the companies, like the caliber of companies that we're working with right now. This is absolutely like cutting edge, like top of everyone's mind. I think the reason that this is starting to catch a lot of momentum is exactly like you laid out. There's a bit of a success paradox that's happening with inside sales teams. Specifically, you hit your number, you double your sales team. And so with attrition, you have 60% of your reps as rookies. You hit your number again, you'll double your sales team again. And now with attrition, like a third of your reps are veterans. And as we start to move inside and start to chase velocity, we hire greener and greener salespeople. Like I'm hiring folks right out of college. They're doing a year on the phones as a BDR. Then they're promoting to account exec. If they hit their number, they're either mid-market or a manager. And all of a sudden I go from 2 reps to 100 in 2 years. Yeah. And it's the blind leading the blind. They've never been coached. They don't know how to coach. There's no structure in place. And so you hire someone new, and what do? You say, oh, go listen to Kat. She's the best. She's been here the longest, and go sell like Kat sells. But you have a 25% win rate, right? And you have a 30% no-show rate. So chances are it's like a 10 or 20% chance that next call for Kat is worth listening to. And so you have reps sitting there talking internal politics, talking about what annoys your salespeople, and listening to bad calls, and that's their onboarding experience.
Well, look,
are you going to get them field ready?
This is going to date me, so don't laugh, right? But back in the day, we had splitters, right? And we actually had telephones. And you sat there for an hour. If you're lucky, you got one decent call to coach to. So how is software changing that, Joe?
No, you're totally right. Next, we'll start talking about windshield time. But yeah, how is software helping this? So here's the deal. I just laid it out for you. Like this is how you train salespeople. It's latchkey training. It's like when I was a kid and my mom would just sit me in front of TV and as the babysitter. That's the way you train your sales reps now. You work your butt off. You spend the whole weekend. You build a perfect lecture deck. You build a presentation. You drink 3 cups of coffee that morning, and you go hard and you train them in a classroom. And then at 10 a.m. you're out and you're like, hey, go sit with the reps and watch what they do. So what a lot of our customers are doing instead is they're truncating the call shadow experience, and they're making it more impactful. And the way they're doing that is they're just automatically recording every one of their sales calls. They're filtering down to like highly productive meetings. They're using our AI to identify like best talk tracks. And then they're taking those clips and they're replacing the call shadow with actual recordings of real calls. And the benefit is that you can decide what call a rep shadows, and you can add coaching to that call. So now you're getting a rep to actually watch video with intent instead of just randomly watching the next call that your rep has.
Look, this is fantastic. It reminds me of lessons in golf, right? The first few lessons I took, I was information overload. I had a grip, I had a stance, I had a hip turn, a shoulder turn, a proper release. And then, okay, go play. And the most effective lessons I've had were I've identified one thing, and we're going to focus on that one thing. It's the grip, and I don't care about all the other stuff. Let's get the grip right first. You're doing the same thing with recorded calls.
Yeah, Bob, you're totally right. So it's funny. I think about it very similar to role play or like a mock call experience you'd have with the rep. The worst way to do that is to role play an entire call, like a 30-minute role play. And then you go back and you're like, do you remember in the beginning when you said, and they're like, no, I don't remember that. Right? I don't remember the beginning of this imaginary conversation. Instead, what you want to do is you want to focus on one piece of the experience and you want to role play that and then stop and talk about it and have a discussion. Well, it's the same thing in coaching. You should not expect a rep to be able to internalize coaching on an entire sales motion or entire call. It has to be very, very segmented. Here's your open, here's your value driver, here's your pain statement, right? And you have to be able to really map out what a call looks like and then provide like 10 or 15 real life examples of a good rep doing that specific motion well.
And let's say it's just the call opening, maybe specifically the use of pre-call research in the opening, right? Just that one point. That's okay. So for the viewers watching this, they're thinking, man, I got the ability to record, or maybe I don't have the ability to record. For those out there watching, can you share how did they get started? What did they do first? And what do they focus on to kind of get going on this important area?
Yeah. Well, Bob, the funny thing is the technology's kind of caught up a lot over the last 5 years alone. And so every legitimate telephony vendor out there has recording, and every screen share provider has recording. The difference once you move to a conversation intelligence platform like Chorus is that we actually just make it more accessible, and we make it searchable, and we can index it, we can give you meta level data, and we can use our AI to help you find things you didn't know existed. But without leveraging a product like ours, you can still do this. You can record every call in your telephony, and you can record every screen share. The only difference is you're going to have to be collaborative with your sales team to get them to go into their drive folders and pull the recordings out for you. But if you're focused on enablement, if you're hiring a bunch of people this year, just go back to the deals that you won and get the reps to share those recordings with you and build these assets up. This is easier than you think. And video is the number one training asset out there.
This is going to date me again, and you'll laugh. But we used to use cassette recorders plugged into the output of a computer, and we went in and we played those recordings. Even that simple. To your point, you don't have to get a call recording tool like Chorus.ai. Start now with what's available. Practice on it. Pick out those good calls. Let's teach each other, let's collaborate, and then you may advance to something like Chorus.ai. That's a good, would you recommend that? Good start, right? Yeah.
No, we're fully aligned. This is the way that I did it when I ran the sales team at Insight Squared. I started by, recording role plays and then recording in Zoom and turning those Zoom assets into a training asset. And then we finally graduated up and realized that we were about to go through a big spree of promoting BDRs and hiring new reps, and we needed support, we needed structure. So we bought the product at Chorus, and it cut our ramp time, literally cut our ramp time in half, and increased our win rate all within 6 months. It was amazing, but I'm not out here pitching that all your listeners should go on my website and MQL now. I'm actually just saying that there is an epidemic where we're not training and enabling our sales team, and I believe real calls are the answer. Not lectures and not mock calls. Real calls are the answer. And so I'm telling your listeners, start recording your calls and start using them for training, whether you buy from me or not.
Yeah, Joe, look. We at the AA-ISP here, we have a member service and sales staff. We record calls, and it's been a game changer on how we coach, because it's real data. You hear what's being said. You can quickly click through the calls in a matter of minutes and do some serious coaching in a matter of minutes. It's a game changer. So I agree. I'd encourage the listeners out there to get started on this now. How do they reach out to you if they want to learn more about call recording, if they want to get a demo of Chorus? What's the best way to get in touch with you or your team?
Sure. We're doing demos every day, Bob. We're doing demos all day long. You can come and find us on Chorus.ai. You can find me. I'm Joe at Chorus.ai. You know me on LinkedIn. I'm Joe Caprio. I'm a total freak and a nerd for inside sales and metrics and scaling, and I just love to talk shop. So come and contact us, Chorus.ai.
That's fantastic. Joe, thanks a lot for your time today. Viewers, thanks for watching this interview. Get out there, get recording your calls. Let's improve inside sales. Let's take our reps to the next level. Everyone, have a great week, good selling, and good recording.